So if you've got a few minutes, listen to this. The biggest things we'll be covering is also really how to prepare yourself, whether you're a first-time home buyer or you have a house to sell, and what your kind of strategy needs to be, things you need to consider in your negotiations, and where there's room to budge or not budge. All right, and today we are meeting with Mark Gilmore with Windermere Real Estate here in the downtown 300 South branch location. Some of the things that we've been talking about today are the 5 points of negotiations with getting under contract in this insanely competitive market. And I was telling Mark earlier, from working with him for years, I used to criticize him for always being like, you need your down payment, you need this, you need all these things, because his strategy is what you have to live by to get under contract now. And so real quick, those 5 points of negotiation are: number 1, purchase price; 2, terms; 3, your deadlines; and number 4, inclusions, exclusions; and 5, contingencies. So with that, I'll have Mark take it away from the 5 things that you need to negotiate.
Well, we know purchase price is kind of the big one. That's what a lot of people focus on, is how much do I have to pay to get a house? How much over asking price do I have to go? It is a big one. I mean, that's the main thing the sellers look at, and how much are they going to get back out of the home. But not everyone's able or willing to go too crazy on the purchase price. So we have a lot of other things we can use to kind of give you an advantage in the market. So.
Okay. And then terms?
Terms would be things like earnest money. Can you guarantee earnest money? How much are you putting down? What's your down payment? You know, if you have a lot of cash in the bank that you can put down. If you're putting more than 20% down, we know you can possibly get appraisal waivers, things like that. Things like that really speak to a seller and how easy the transaction is going to be. You know, if you put a really big purchase price down on a contract and the earnest money is $1,000 or $2,000, they might think you're not too serious about it,
or that you don't have any money,
and you know, other things like you mentioned, down payment or closing costs. You know, for a lot of years we were able to negotiate closing costs into contracts, and that's kind of disappeared over the last year or so. So
especially the last couple months.
Yeah. So if you have money to put into, if you don't have to ask for closing costs, and you have a little bit of extra cash to put into the down payment, you know, the seller's going to feel more comfortable with you. But again, you know, not everyone's able to do that, and we try to use other items that we could put into the contract to try to give you an advantage if you're not able to. So,
and that leads to deadlines.
Deadlines would be, you know, how fast can you get through due diligence, financing and appraisal, and settlement. Settlement's kind of the big one. The sellers want to know that they're going to get through this quickly, and they're not going to have too much time to move on to their next purchase. And
I've also been seeing as well, and I'm sure you have too, a lot of sellers wanting to have that 60-day rent back option, because they're not able to find a home to buy again really quickly, so they need somewhere to live while they're trying to buy in this insane market. Yeah,
so that would go back into terms. You know, are you able to give them a little bit extra time to move out? If you don't want to do the rent back, I know a lot of people are scared about renting a house back to the seller. You know, what if it gets damaged? What if I'm liable for something that happens?
But it's about being flexible. Whether it's best for you, sometimes you have to budge to be best for the seller.
Yeah, so you could either do a rent back, or you could sell them. We'll give you a little bit extra time to go to settlement, but you know, we have to balance that with the rate lock and make sure that works for your lender as well. So it's a kind of a give and take thing with that.
Yep. And then number 4 was inclusions and exclusions.
Inclusions and exclusions is what comes with the house. What are you willing to give up with the house? Typically, everything that's attached to the home is considered a fixture and part of the home. But I ran into a situation where a seller was offering a carpet credit or offering to replace carpet because it was in pretty bad shape. My buyers weren't too worried about it, so they said, "Hey, we don't need this carpet credit. We're willing to waive that inclusion." So, if there's something that you're able to provide to the seller in that regard, maybe they really want to keep their refrigerator and you really love the refrigerator. If you're willing to give up that refrigerator to win the home, then it might be worth the cost of just buying a new refrigerator.
Exactly. And finally, last but not least, is contingencies, which we're seeing ever present on, I feel like, almost every accepted offer out there, it feels like.
We're seeing a lot of waived contingencies. So contingencies would be due diligence, financing and appraisal, and settlement contingency. But what we're seeing a lot nowadays is people waiving due diligence or guaranteeing that they will not ask for any repairs or any costs in lieu of repairs should anything come up. And again, that kind of comes down to if you're comfortable with that, if you think the home from the first inspection is good enough for you to take and as is condition, then that would be up to the buyer. But aside from that, appraisal contingency, we mentioned if you have enough money to put down, you might be able to get a waiver on appraisal. Most people, I still suggest getting an appraisal done just to have the peace of mind that it's in the range where you've offered. But a lot of sellers with these high purchase prices where they're getting nervous that it's not going to appraise and they're not going to get what the contract says. So if they can have a little peace of mind with that, then they're more likely to take your offer.
Exactly. The easier on the seller, the less headache, the less, I guess, confusing things you throw at them, the more chance you're going to get accepted. So
it's a strong seller's market right now, and we know that you kind of have to jump through some hoops the sellers are setting for us. So it's still possible to get the house you love. You just gotta
prepare and know what you're willing to accept, really.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or tolerate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the more you're willing to give up, the more likely you're able to get the home. So.
Yeah. So tips by Mark Gilmore, Windermere Real Estate. Give him a call and ask him any questions. Pick that brain.
Yeah.